Some startups go up, others go down. Welcome to GeekWire's Elevator Pitch, where 3 entrepreneurs pitch their businesses in the 42 seconds it takes to get to the top of Seattle's iconic Space Needle. Over the course of 9 episodes, we'll narrow the field from 27 entrepreneurs to 1 winner. In this episode of Elevator Pitch, presented by Smartsheet, we'll hear from 3 startup founders as they pitch their emerging businesses to our panel of leading investors and entrepreneurs. Let's meet our judges. T.A. McCann, a serial software entrepreneur and professional sailor who sold his last company to Google and counts Rival IQ and more than a half dozen other startups to his name. Richard Tate, the motorcycle-riding Scotsman and mastermind behind the hit board game Cranium, who now stirs up new ideas inside Starbucks. Heather Redman, power broker and former Getty Images executive who cuts deals as managing director of venture capital firm Flying Fish Partners. The clock is ticking. Jump on board and ride with us on the elevator pitch and find out which entrepreneur has what it takes to make it to the top.
My name is Erin Rothman. I'm the CEO and co-founder of StormSensor.
Welcome to the Space Needle.
We have created a high-resolution sensor network designed to transform the stormwater and wastewater infrastructure industries from discrete sampling to continuous, comprehensive monitoring across entire facilities and municipalities. Using our own proprietary anomaly detection algorithms, for the first time ever, we can identify, track, predict, and prevent pollution and flooding in real time. We save our customers billions of dollars in infrastructure optimization and upgrade costs. And we dramatically improve both human and aquatic ecosystems across the country and ultimately across the world.
Can you help me understand who the customer is?
Yeah, we're focused on mid-sized municipalities that are located contiguous to waterways. These guys are dealing with combined sewer overflows, sea level rise, and the infrastructure in the United States has received a grade of D-.
Can you give us a more specific example? Like, is it deployed? Where is it working?
Certainly. We have 3 pilots running right now. We have 1 pilot in Jersey City. We have another one in Kitsap County, and we have another pilot running with Port of Seattle. So we're using our sensors to identify those combined sewer overflows, and then our algorithms to trace that upstream and be able to identify the source and stop it, and ultimately save them tens to millions, hundreds of millions of dollars.
Walk us through, what does that deployment look like? How many sensors? How much does it cost?
The Jersey City deployment cost $6,000. We have 6 sensors running right now. They are deployed in 2 different outfalls, and then we'll also have the sensors deployed upstream of those outfalls within or between 2 tide gates.
For them to make that ultimate buying decision, what do they have to see your product prove? And what does that do for them in terms of dollars saved or regulatory action avoided, or sort of what's the ideal scenario for the customer?
We are basically proving it right now. So we've demonstrated combined sewer outfall overflows. So that's enough to get them to move forward. We'll be working with them on different data presentation things over the next few weeks as well. They're also able to use the data that we're generating to really streamline the maintenance of these systems. So for example, they have these netting facilities that capture all the crap that comes downstream and catches it before it goes out to the Hackensack River. Every time it rains, they send guys out to go remove or switch out those nets. If we can demonstrate when those nets need to be switched out, like if we've got consistent velocity, we don't have any backup, they don't have to send someone out there. So they anticipate that they could deploy over 100 units and save hundreds, if not thousands of man hours every year.
And what would the pricing on that be in full deployment?
Full deployment would be about $60,000 for 100 units.
Annually?
Annually. So our software and hardware combined are $560 per sensor per year. And then we're developing the analytics that will be in beta later this year, and those will be $600 to $1,000 per sensor.
Why so cheap?
Yeah.
Because our focus is not to make as much money per sensor sold. We want to get as much data possible. So instead of looking at on a per sensor basis, we tried to figure out how we could capture a large amounts of data on a granular level for application across entire urban watersheds.
Charge more.
Yeah. What's on the product roadmap? Where do you go from here?
We're starting with conductivity. So right now we monitor temperature and flow of water moving through our pipes. We're adding conductivity. So we take it from about 95% coverage to 99% coverage of the major issues that we can identify. Ideally, we're going to move ultimately into emergency response and storm surges and hurricane warnings.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
I loved it. I thought it was super cool.
Yeah, yeah.
It's hard to determine the pricing though. I mean, I think it's awesome that they have that latitude, and it's a problem that not many other people are either equipped or interested in solving. But when you see how much it could possibly save a municipality, then that would really influence how I would determine what the pricing model should be. And it felt to me like right now, $6,000 per test seems kind of low for the opportunity that she might have.
She's a strong CEO and clearly has been working this problem for a while, and so I have confidence that she's going to keep figuring it out. But it is a market that's going to move slowly to adopt new technologies.
I also am interested in how they price the data. I mean, it seemed like there may be even more value in the data than the sensor. So I would have loved to hear more about just how they're thinking about the data.
I like selling into climate change too. I mean, this is the issues that she's talking about, and the unknowns, highly relevant.
Hi, my name is Louis Lin, and I'm the CEO of PeopleMaven.
Welcome to the Space Needle.
Traditional ways of hiring is absolutely frustrating. You have to write the job description, you wait for the resumes to roll in, you do rounds and rounds of interviews, and after 3 months, you fire the person because you realize that candidate was trained to say the right things at the interview. So how are we different? PeopleMaven gives talent seekers what they really want. Millions of lists recommending amazing people, from talented software engineers to homeopathic fertility doctors, all by the names that they trust. So who's ready to try PeopleMaven and change the way that you people search?
Welcome.
Hi Heather, hi Richard, and hi TA.
What's the domain focus? Is there a particular focus of one career type or one type of industry, or is it incredibly broad?
The way that our software is architected, it's a horizontal platform, and so we can have every single vertical under the sun. At first, we thought about specializing on a single vertical, but then we thought to ourselves, why restrain our users from creating lists of people in the domains that they're interested in?
What does it do?
So the way that it works, it's really, you can almost think of it like a high school yearbook. And so you have faces of people, and these lists have titles associated to them. And so from the high school analogy, it could be the people who are most likely to succeed, or the people who are most likely to show up on Forbes magazine. We have kind of the same concept here, but instead they're very specific to different types of areas. And so it might be a list of the most talented JavaScript software engineers here in Seattle, or it's the most talented graphic designers specializing in Adobe Illustrator in San Francisco.
And so how do you make sure that that list is actually an accurate list? How do you generate the data?
It's a user-generated site, and so the users, it might be even you, Heather, you might contribute lists of people that you personally have some expertise around. And so you might know some of the great venture capitalists in Seattle, you might know some of the great entrepreneurs, the most talented startup lawyers, and you would contribute those lists, and based off of your reputation, people would say, you know what, Heather's somebody that I trust because I've had firsthand experiences with her, or she's well known in the industry. I trust her opinions on the people that she's recommended.
How do the most accredited lists get to the top of the search? I want to make sure that if I'm hiring somebody, the person who's recommending them to me is someone who's really truly accredited to make that recommendation.
Right now, it's really around personal reputation, and so your personal brand on the internet. We don't do any sort of like certification, if you will. At this point, it's really a user-generated content site. I'd say eventually, in the long run, we would use the power of data science and machine learning to use behavioral characteristics to say, hey, Heather's list, she's contributed in the last 5 years. We don't see as many positive indicators in terms of thumbs up, thumbs down, reviews, views. No offense, Heather.
I'm crushed.
Somebody else's list.
Gotta work harder.
Somebody else's list might be a little bit considered, at least from the behavioral metrics, something that might be some more credible.
Who's the customer and what's the business model? Who pays?
We're building a marketplace. We're building a network, and right now our #1 metric is growth. And it's not so much user growth, but it's really around list growth. And through these lists, people are finding out about us through organic Google searches, which is just another way of saying we're generating a lot of page views. And when it comes to business model, revenue model, there's a lot of things that we could try. Probably one of the first things that we would try would be online advertising.
Great.
Thank you.
Thanks so
Good.
much.
Thank you.
Wow, we go from something so specific from StormSensor to something that's so broad and amorphic.
Right.
You have to start every business with at least a hypothesis of what the business model is and if it's advertising centric or if it's end user. I mean, it doesn't matter. You just have to have a focus on that. Even if you don't turn it on for a while, you have to at least know, at least I think so. From day one, like this is what we believe to be the business model.
Yeah.
And therefore you'll architect the product, you'll market the product, you'll work all that very differently depending on what the answer is.
Right now we're all drowning in too much information, and so this idea of just sort of accumulating all of these lists across this incredible panoply of potential jobs and having it be kind of a content marketing strategy for people, just to me it sort of seemed like endorsements on LinkedIn, particularly for businesses like this. I want to see something that's built AI ML first, and that's not even on his radar other than as a someday thing. But the only way for this product to be at scale and useful would have to be, especially at the kind of breadth that they have, would be for it to be built AI and ML first, which I'm not hearing.
I'm Tina Snyder, founder and CEO of CampusWall.
Welcome to the Space Needle.
In the past, students looking to procure goods often had few options other than meeting strangers on Craigslist. If you were going to post a ride share or tutoring services, you might resort to paper flyers on dorm walls. Pretty old school if you pardon the pun. And on move-out day, lots of reusable goods get abandoned in stairwells and hallways. We provide an online virtual bulletin board where students can buy, sell, swap, and share goods and services with peers. CampusWall is promoting safety and sustainability, which are two issues near and dear to higher ed institutions. Users register with their .edu eval, making CampusWall a true community marketplace. With over 5,000 institutions across the United States, we have lots of walls to put out.
What's the business model?
So the business model is a subscription fee from schools. My sweet spot has really been from the sustainability side of it. I align myself with an association called ASHE, which is the Association for the Advancement of Sustainability in Higher Ed. They actually have a STARS program where schools can sign up and they get points for different green initiatives, solar garbage cans, things like that. And so I've actually been signed on as someone where if the school has my marketplace, they can get points for that. Admittedly, I'm kind of a B to B to C in that some of the outreach comes to me from students and I don't want to charge students. Originally, I'd hoped that somehow this could be built into a tuition model, even $1 a semester per student, and split it with the school, because I really look at it as a partnership. I want them to do the marketing piece, because I don't have opportunity to do it as well as they certainly can on campus, but we supply the platform.
How many subscribers?
I have about 10,000 right now. I have done really no marketing, but I've had a lot of outreach from like Collaborative Consumption and Mother Earth and some of these organizations that are big on sustainability.
What school's been most successful for you and what does that sort of look like? Transactions, where is it? What are they trading?
It's the University of Wisconsin, Green Bay, because I had a good champion on campus. It's really mostly about kind of keeping the momentum going, because obviously every year is a new group of students coming in. And you look at a campus like University of Washington, if you don't hear about it or see it or know about it immediately, it kind of gets lost in the shuffle. And the next year, new people need to come out.
So how many students from Green Bay? How many?
I had about 2,000.
Okay.
And what's the average transaction frequency for those students?
I don't track, I don't do anything with the money, so I don't know what's going on with that, but I can see ad postings and things like that and turnaround. So, it varies. You would think it would be move out time specifically. That was another surprise to me. It's really very consistent across the board, because when you think about it, people are always, having things that they need or to get rid of, so.
How many ambassadors do you have for each campus? Like, have you built out an ambassador community?
In a few places I had kind of a campus champion, I would call them, and if a student contacted me, I would pay a small stipend to have them kind of push the word out. I would say I probably have had about 50 at one point in time.
Great.
Great,
So-
thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you.
It's hard to know what the sustainable business model is.
Having the schools pay is not a good approach. Very long sales cycle and not something that they're going to see as essential. And I think the sustainability points sort of sales pitch is not sufficient to move the needle there. So she's got to come up with a different business model, I think. And I don't see anything compelling there as compared to an OfferUp or even a Craigslist, which is, those things are working now, right? And kids are very good about finding their own modes of commerce.
While I agree with you that money is tight, they pay for other things at a university level, and all you have to look at is move out day and just piles and piles of trash that they're going to have to pay to take away.
But 20% of the customers are from one school.
Yeah.
That's always a risky place to be.
Yeah. Or it's just that early in the stage of, we didn't really know how long she'd been working on it, how many schools she has.
It's a passion project for sure.
Right. So Louis, I wanted to give you some feedback on what we thought of the company and your pitch. Great research on us, great pitching style. I really loved your openness and willingness to engage with us and answer questions. We were concerned about the breadth, and I invest mostly in artificial intelligence and machine learning companies. So one of the things that I'm looking for, particularly when people are entering really large markets and thinking about these problems that are going to ultimately involve lots and lots of data points, is how do you build that artificial intelligence or machine learning in from the beginning. I think you need to think about this business from an artificial intelligence first perspective and really architect it from there.
CampusWall. I love the brand, actually. I think it's a great brand name and a great opportunity to differentiate in the marketplace. As a dad of 2 teenage daughters who are getting ready to go to college, I really appreciate the focus on student security and safety for those students. On the constructive side, just looking at the business model and the dependency on the collegiate embracing and financing the project, is there another way that you can look at that and get more involved with the finances of the transactions that are taking place? And then in terms of acceleration and scale, we were struggling with what the length of the sales cycle was going to be and how to get more schools engaged in actually building the business with you.
Erin, thanks for coming in and talking with us. We loved your background and focusing on this problem, what you've been working on for a while. The ability to deploy small and quickly at a relatively low price point seemed compelling, and over time, obviously, the data aspects of both what you're collecting at a raw level and what you can do to apply that in the future is pretty exciting for us. Some areas of concern would be talking through how the sales cycle can be accelerated or how many different prospects you have to work on at any given time. Trying to pick 1 or 2 of the core scenarios that you're working for, so it's sort of a similar comment around focus initially to get repeatability. And that's just a different way to get at that sort of sales cycle and customer momentum. But we think that market's probably large and changing with all of the things that are happening in our environment. So for that reason, you're the winner.
Completely surprised. I didn't expect to be here 2 days ago, so to be here and win today is pretty crazy. Understanding the value of what we're giving our customers and what they're willing to pay for that will be a really important part of our growth in the next couple of years.
This week's winner will advance to the next round with the chance to pitch live on stage in front of 1,000 tech and business leaders at the 2018 GeekWire Summit. In our next episode, 3 new entrepreneurs will hop on board the Space Needle elevator. Check out geekwire.com/elevator pitch for new episodes.